Dr. Kim Mina rubbed her tired eyes as she stared at the computer screen. It was 3 in the morning at the Seoul Deep Space Research Center, and she was supposed to be monitoring routine space signals. Most nights, nothing happened. The computers would record cosmic background radiation, maybe pick up signals from old satellites, and that was it. But tonight was different. The screen started flashing red. Warning signals filled the air with their sharp beeping sounds. Mina sat up straight, her heart beating faster. In her 5 years working at the center, she had never seen anything like this. The signal coming through their receivers was not random space noise. It had patterns. It had structure. It was organized, like someone was actually trying to communicate. "This can't be right," she whispered to herself, adjusting her glasses and leaning closer to the screen. The signal was incredibly strong, much stronger than anything they usually received. It was coming from somewhere far beyond their solar system, from a direction where no human spacecraft had ever traveled. Mina quickly called her supervisor, Dr. Park Jin-ho, who lived only 20 minutes away. "Dr. Park, you need to come in right now. We're receiving something impossible." Her voice was shaking with excitement and fear, while waiting for Dr. Park to arrive. Mina began running the signal through their translation software. The program was designed to look for mathematical patterns in space signals, something scientists had dreamed about for decades. Most of the time, it found nothing. But tonight, the computer began to work, slowly breaking down the alien message piece by piece. The first words that appeared on her screen made her gasp. Urgent, distress, immediate assistance required. The message was in perfect mathematical language, using universal concepts that any intelligent species would understand. Someone, somewhere in the galaxy, was asking for help. Dr. Park arrived, just as more of the message was being decoded. He was a serious man in his 50s who had spent his entire career searching for signs of alien life. When he saw what was on Mina's screen, his face went pale. "Are you sure this is real? You? Absolutely certain this isn't some kind of mistake?" Mina nodded, pointing to the data. "Look at the signal strength. Look at the mathematical complexity. No human technology could create something like this. It's coming from a star system 47 light-years away." As they watched, more of the message appeared. It was from something called the Vegan Collective, a group of alien species whose fleet was under attack. They were being destroyed by creatures they called the Devourers, and they were desperately requesting military assistance from something called the Galactic Defense Coalition. Dr. Park, Mina said quietly, "I think this message wasn't meant for us. Look at these coordinates. They're not pointing to Earth. They're pointing to a different solar system entirely." Dr. Park studied the data carefully. "You're right. This is a routing error. Somehow, their distress call got sent to the wrong planet. They have no idea they're talking to humans." The implications hit them both at the same time. Not only was there intelligent life in the galaxy, but there was an entire civilization of different alien species. There was something called a Galactic Defense Coalition, which meant there was organized cooperation between worlds. And somewhere out there, a war was happening. As more of the message was decoded, they learned terrifying details. The Devourers were not just another alien species. They were something far worse. They were described as creatures that consumed entire planets, growing stronger with each world they destroyed. They had been moving through the galaxy for thousands of years, wiping out civilization after civilization. The Vegan Collective was losing badly. Their message included tactical data, fleet positions, and detailed information about the enemy. They were sharing military secrets with whoever might help them. Not knowing that their desperate call for help had reached a small blue planet whose inhabitants had never traveled beyond their own moon. "What do we do?" Mina asked, staring at the screen as more urgent messages continued to arrive. "Do we respond? Do we tell them they reached the wrong planet?" Dr. Park was quiet for a long moment. "We need to contact the government immediately. This is bigger than anything our research center can handle." He picked up his phone and began making calls to military officials and government leaders. Within an hour, the research center was filled with people. Military officers, government officials, and scientists from around the world were connected by video conference. Everyone was asking the same questions. Was this real? What should they do? How should humanity respond? The alien messages kept coming, each one more desperate than the last. The vegan collective was running out of time. Their fleet was being destroyed, their colonies were being consumed, and they had no idea that their call for help had reached a planet full of beings who had never even left their own solar system. As dawn broke over Seoul, Dr. Kim Mina realized that everything had changed. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe. They had accidentally become part of a galactic war. Somehow, they had to decide whether to help or stay hidden. The computer beeped again. Another message had arrived, even more urgent than the others. Admiral Park Jin-ho stood in the emergency command center in Seoul, surrounded by screens showing similar meetings happening all over the world. In Washington, Moscow, Beijing, London, and every other major capital, world leaders were having the same impossible conversation. The alien distress call had been received by every major space monitoring facility on Earth. And now everyone was trying to figure out what to do. "This is not a joke," Park said into the video conference camera. Looking at the faces of presidents, prime ministers, and military commanders from around the globe, "We have confirmed this signal is real. We have confirmed it comes from outside our solar system, and we have confirmed that somewhere in the galaxy there is a war happening." The American president leaned forward on his screen. "Admiral Park, what exactly are they asking for? What kind of help do they need?" Park pulled up the translated messages on his computer. "They are asking for immediate military assistance. They want warships, weapons, and soldiers. They are losing a war against something called the Devourers, and they think we are part of something called the Galactic Defense Coalition." The Russian leader spoke next. "But we are not part of any galactic coalition. We have never even left our own solar system. How can we help them?" "That's exactly the problem," Park replied. "They don't know they sent their message to the wrong planet. They think they're talking to an advanced military civilization. They have no idea they've reached a world where the most advanced spacecraft we have can barely reach Mars." For the next 6 hours, world leaders debated what to do. Some wanted to ignore the message completely. Others wanted to send a reply explaining that Earth was not part of any galactic military. But as more messages arrived from the aliens showing the complete destruction of their worlds, something changed in the global conversation. Dr. Kim Mina, who had been invited to explain the technical details, showed the leaders what the latest messages contained. The Devourers are not just defeating the vegan collective, they are completely destroying them. Look at these images they sent. The screens filled with pictures that made everyone go quiet. Entire planets had been stripped bare, their surfaces consumed down to the core. Space stations that had housed millions of beings were now just floating debris. The Devourers were not just winning a war, they were erasing entire civilizations from existence. "How many species are they fighting?" asked the Japanese Prime Minister, according to their messages. "The vegan collective includes 47 different alien species," Mina replied. "All of them are losing. All of them are being destroyed. And based on the tactical data they're sharing, the Devourers are moving toward more populated areas of the galaxy." The Chinese president looked at the data carefully. "If these creatures continue their expansion, how long before they reach Earth?" Park consulted with his team of scientists before answering. "Based on their current path and speed, approximately 200 years. Maybe less if they move faster after consuming more worlds." The room fell silent. Everyone was thinking the same thing. This was not just about helping alien strangers. It was about Earth's future survival. The British Prime Minister was the first to speak. "What are you suggesting, Admiral? That we somehow travel 47 light years to fight in an alien war?" "I'm suggesting that we might not have a choice," Park replied. "The aliens accidentally contacted us, but they've also given us something invaluable. They've given us the exact location of the enemy. They've given us tactical information. They've given us a chance to fight the Devourers before they reach our solar system." The German Chancellor shook her head. "But we don't have the technology. We don't have faster-than-light travel. We don't have weapons that can fight these creatures." Park smiled grimly. "Actually, we might have something better. We have something that apparently no other species in the galaxy has." "What's that?" asked the French president. We have experience with war, Park said. Look at the alien messages. The vegan collective has been trying to negotiate with the Devourers. They've been trying to find peaceful solutions. They've been trying to evacuate their people rather than fight. But humans? We've been fighting wars for our entire history. We've been developing weapons and military tactics for thousands of years. Idea was crazy, but as Park explained it, it started to make sense. Humanity had spent its entire existence learning how to fight. Every nation had military forces. Every country had weapons. Every culture had strategies for warfare. The aliens had contacted Earth by accident, or maybe they had contacted exactly the right planet. The American president looked around at his fellow leaders. Are we seriously considering this? Are we talking about launching a military mission to another star system? Yes, Park said firmly. I believe we are. The aliens need help, and we need to stop the Devourers before they reach Earth. This is our chance to do both. Within hours, the decision was made. Every country would contribute to humanity's first interstellar military mission. Ancient enemies would work together. Nations that had never cooperated would share technology and resources. The aliens had asked for help from the Galactic Defense Coalition. Instead, they were about to get something far more dangerous. They were about to get humans. Captain Lee. Hannah gripped the command chair as her ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The journey to the vegan system had taken 3 months, but it felt like years. Behind her, 200 Earth ships emerged from the bright flashes of light that marked their arrival. It was humanity's first interstellar fleet, and they had no idea what they would find. Captain, we're receiving signals, reported Communications Officer Kim Tae. The vegan collective is trying to contact us. Put them through, Hannah ordered, her heart beating fast. This would be humanity's first real conversation with aliens. The main screen flickered, and an alien face appeared. The creature looked nothing. Like humans had imagined, it had 4 eyes, pale blue skin, and a mouth that moved strangely when it spoke. But the universal translator worked perfectly, and its words came through clearly. Galactic Defense Coalition forces, thank you for responding to our distress call. I am Commander Veltar of the Vegan Collective. We have been waiting for your arrival, but I must warn you, the situation is worse than when we first contacted you. Hannah looked at her crew, then back at the alien commander. This is Captain Lee Hannah of the Earth Defense Force. We received your distress call and came as quickly as possible. There was a pause. The alien's 4 eyes blinked in confusion. Earth's Defense Force. I am not familiar with that organization. Are you a new member of the coalition? We'll explain later, Hannah said quickly. Right now, we need to know the current situation. Where are the Devourers? Commander Veltar's expression became grim. They are everywhere. 3 days ago, they destroyed our main fleet. Yesterday, they consumed the planet Kethmara and its 2 billion inhabitants. Today, they are moving toward our last remaining colonies. As if summoned by his words, new contacts appeared on the human ship's sensors. Massive objects were approaching from the edge of the star system, moving at incredible speeds. The things on the sensors were huge, much larger than any human ship, and they were clearly alive. Those are the Devourers, Veltar said, his voice filled with fear. Each one is the size of a small moon. They consume matter and energy to grow stronger. Nothing we have tried has been able to stop them. Hannah studied the sensor readings. Approaching creatures were indeed massive, but they were also moving in predictable patterns. They seemed to be following the strongest energy sources, like predators hunting prey. How many ships do you have left? She asked the alien commander. 47 vessels, scattered across 3 locations. We have been trying to evacuate civilians, but there is nowhere safe to take them. The Devourers consume everything in there. Path. Lieutenant Park Min, the tactical officer, leaned toward Hannah. Captain, I'm reading energy signatures from the creatures. They're definitely biological, but they're also using some kind of technology. It's like they're part machine, part living tissue. Hannah nodded, then spoke to Commander Veltar again. We need you to pull back your remaining ships. Get them to a safe distance. We're going to try something. What are you planning? Veltar asked. We have tried every weapon we possess. We have tried negotiation. We have tried everything. You've tried everything you know, Hannah replied. But you haven't tried what humans know. The alien commander looked confused, but he gave orders to his remaining ships to retreat. As they moved away, the human fleet began to spread out into a formation that no alien species had ever seen before. It was a battle formation designed for maximum destruction. All ships, this is Captain Lee, Hannah announced over the fleet communication system. Remember, these creatures have been fighting civilizations that try to negotiate and evacuate. They've never fought a species that fights back with everything it has. Show them what humans do when someone threatens our home. It devours. We're now close enough to see clearly. They were horrible to look at, like enormous sea creatures covered in mechanical parts. Their surfaces were covered with what looked like mouths, constantly opening and closing. They moved through space like they were swimming. They're massive, bodies twisting and turning. Nuclear weapons armed, reported weapons officer Cho Yoon. Electromagnetic pulse bombs ready. Kinetic projectiles loaded. Fire everything, Hannah ordered. The space between the human fleet and the Devourers suddenly filled with light and explosions. Nuclear warheads detonated against the creature's surfaces. Electromagnetic pulses disrupted their nervous systems. Kinetic projectiles, moving at incredible speeds, punched holes through their biological armor. The Devourers' response was immediate and terrifying. They began to change direction, moving directly toward the human fleet. But instead of the coordinated attack they had used against other species, they seemed confused and angry. They're not used to prey that fights back, Lieutenant Park observed. Look at their movement patterns. They're acting like wounded animals. More human weapons struck the creatures. One of the Devourers, smaller than the others, suddenly stopped moving. Its massive body began to break apart, pieces floating away. Into space? Did we just kill one of them? Cho asked, staring at his sensors. Yes, Hannah said grimly. And now they know they can be killed. Commander Veltar, are you seeing this? The alien commander's voice was filled with amazement. Possible. In 300 years of warfare, no one has ever destroyed a devourer. How did you do it? We didn't try to negotiate with them, Hannah replied. We just shot them. Commander Cho Wu watched his Marines prepare for the most dangerous mission in human history. They were about to board one of the Devourers, the massive, living ships that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries. While the space battle continued outside, Cho's team had volunteered to go inside the creature and try to destroy it from within. Remember, Cho told his 20-person team, these things have been fighting civilizations that run away or try to negotiate. They've never fought humans. They don't know what we're capable of. The Marines nodded, checking their weapons one final time. Each soldier carried enough firepower to destroy a small building. They had flamethrowers, explosive charges, armor-piercing bullets, and chemical weapons. Most importantly, they had something the Devourers had never encountered before. Humans who were genuinely excited about fighting monsters. Boarding craft approaching the target, reported the pilot, seeing an opening in the creature's side. It looks like some kind of entrance. Through the small windows, the Marines could see the Devourer up close. It was even more terrifying than they had imagined. The creature's surface was covered in what looked like giant mouths, each one big enough to swallow a truck. Strange lights pulsed beneath its skin, and mechanical parts jutted out at odd angles. That's not an entrance, said Sergeant Kim Sol, studying the opening. That's a wound from our weapons. We're going in through a hole we made. The boarding craft attached itself to the creature's surface, and the Marines cut through the biological wall. The smell that came out was horrible, like rotting meat mixed with machine oil. But the humans just put on their gas masks and moved forward. Inside the Devourer was like being inside a living nightmare. The walls were soft and wet, pulsing like a heartbeat. Strange organic machinery lined the corridors, and the floor was covered in a thick, sticky substance. Most alien species would have been paralyzed with fear, but the humans just looked around with interest. This is actually pretty cool, said Private Lee Jun, pointing his flashlight at the pulsing walls. It's like being inside a giant alien. Stomach. Stay focused, Cho ordered, but he was secretly impressed by his team's calm reaction. Humans had spent thousands of years telling each other scary stories and making horror movies. This was certainly frightening, But it wasn't beyond their imagination. They moved deeper into the creature, following a corridor that seemed to lead toward the center. Along the way, they encountered the first of the Devourer's internal defenses. Small, crab-like creatures scuttled out of holes in the walls, their sharp claws clicking against the floor. Defensive organisms, Cho reported over his radio. Engaging now, the fight was over in seconds. The crab creatures were fast and dangerous, but they had evolved to fight aliens who would try to escape or negotiate. They had no defense against humans who simply shot everything that moved. "These things are like antibodies," observed Corporal Park High, examining one of the dead creatures. "The Devourer's immune system is trying to fight us off, and we're definitely going in the right direction," Cho replied as they went deeper. The internal defenses became more dangerous. Larger creatures attacked them, some as big as cars. The walls themselves began to close in, trying to crush the invaders. Poisonous gas filled the air, and the floor became unstable. But the humans adapted to each challenge. When the walls closed in, they used explosives to blast them open. When poisonous gas filled the air, they switched to better filters. Larger creatures attacked, they used heavier weapons. The alien species that fought these things before probably tried to be careful, said Sergeant Kim Sol as she reloaded her weapon. They probably tried to avoid damage and find peaceful solutions, but we're not trying to capture this thing. We're trying to kill it. Finally, they reached what appeared to be the creature's central chamber. It was a vast space filled with pulsing organic machinery. At the center was something that looked like a massive brain, surrounded by mechanical devices that seemed to control the entire creature. "That's got to be the control center," Cho said, studying the alien biology. "That the whole thing should die." The team spread out, placing explosive charges around the chamber. But as they worked, the creature seemed to realize what was happening. The walls began to pulse faster, and new defensive organisms poured into the chamber. "It knows we're here," shouted Private Lee June, firing at the approaching creatures. "It's trying to stop us." The battle that followed was intense but brief. The humans had superior weapons and tactics, while the Devourer's defenses were designed for species that would try to escape rather than fight. Within minutes, the chamber was clear. "Charges set," reported Sergeant Kim Sol. "We have 2 minutes to get out." As they ran back through the corridors, Cho couldn't help but think about what they had accomplished. For hundreds of years, the Devourers had been unstoppable. They had destroyed entire civilizations, consumed whole planets, and spread terror across the galaxy. But they had never fought humans. The explosion behind them shook the entire creature.
Ow.
Through the walls, they could hear a sound like screaming as the Devourer began to die. By the time they reached their boarding craft, the massive creature was already breaking apart. "Mission accomplished," Cho reported to the fleet. "The Devourer is dead. And now we know exactly how to kill the rest of them." Ambassador Song Yuna stood before the largest gathering of alien species in galactic history. The Great Hall on the planet Xantara was filled with representatives from over 200 different worlds, all of them there to discuss the same thing: what to do about the humans. 6 months had passed since the battle against the Devourers. What should have been humanity's first contact with alien civilization had instead become their introduction as the galaxy's most effective military force. The creatures that had terrorized space for centuries were now hiding in the furthest corners of the galaxy, apparently too afraid to continue their attacks. "Honored representatives," Yuna began, speaking into the universal translator that would carry her words to every species present. "6 months ago, you didn't even know Earth existed. Today you're all here because you want to understand how a single planet defeated an enemy that your combined civilizations couldn't stop." The alien delegates shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Some looked curious, others looked worried, and a few looked genuinely frightened. In the front row, Commander Veltar of the Vegan Collective nodded respectfully. His species owed their survival to the humans, and he had become one of Earth's strongest supporters. "The answer is simple," Yuna continued. "We're good at war because we've had a lot of practice. While your species were developing technology for exploration and peaceful cooperation, humans were fighting each other. We've been at war for our entire history." A delegate from the Crystalline Dominion, a species that looked like living gemstones, raised a glowing appendage. Ambassador Song, your military effectiveness is impressive, but many of us are concerned about your methods. Your soldiers seem to enjoy the violence. They showed no fear of the devourers. Yuna smiled. That's because humans have been telling each other scary stories for thousands of years. We've imagined every possible monster, every possible nightmare. When my Marines saw the devourers, they weren't seeing something impossible. They were seeing something they had been preparing for their entire lives. The delegate from the Harmony Collective, a species that communicated through musical tones, played a series of worried notes. The translator converted their music into words, but this raises questions about human intentions. If you are so skilled at warfare, how do we know you won't become the next threat to galactic peace? The question hung in the air like a challenge. Every delegate was thinking the same thing. The humans had proven they could defeat the devourers easily. What would stop them from conquering everyone else? Yuna had expected this question, because we didn't come here to conquer anyone. We came here because someone asked for help. Your distress call was sent to the wrong planet, but it found exactly the right species. We're not interested in ruling the galaxy, we're interested in protecting it. Commander Veltar stood up from his seat. If I may speak, fellow delegates. The humans could have ignored our distress call. They could have stayed safely on their planet and let us all die. Instead, they traveled across the galaxy to help strangers. They lost ships and soldiers to save our worlds. That is not the behavior of conquerors. A delegate from the telepathic union, beings who could read minds, projected their thoughts to the translator. We have examined human thoughts during our interactions. They are indeed driven by a desire to protect, not to dominate. However, they are also incredibly dangerous. Their capacity for violence exceeds anything we have encountered. That's exactly why you need us, Yuna replied. The galaxy is a dangerous place. The Devourers were just one threat. There will be others. When the next crisis comes, do you want to face it with species that have spent centuries avoiding conflict, or do you want allies who know how to fight? The hall erupted in discussion as delegates talked among themselves in dozens of different languages and communication methods. Some species were clearly interested in forming alliances with Earth. Others were worried about the implications of having such a warlike species in the galaxy. The delegate from the ancient archive, species that had existed for millions of years, finally spoke in a voice that sounded like whispers from the past. We have seen many species rise and fall. We have witnessed the birth and death of countless civilizations. We have never seen a species emerge so quickly as a major galactic power. Maybe that's because the galaxy needed us, Yuna suggested. Your message found its way to Earth for a reason. Maybe the universe was telling you that it was time for warriors to join the cosmic community. Over the following hours, the debate continued. Some species wanted to form immediate military alliances with Earth. Others wanted to study human military techniques. A few wanted to limit human expansion into space. But everyone agreed on one thing. The galaxy had changed forever. By the end of the session, the Galactic Defense Coalition had been reformed with Earth as its primary military force. Humans would be responsible for protecting the galaxy from external threats, while the peaceful species would continue their work in science, exploration, and diplomacy. As Yuna prepared to leave the Great Hall, Commander Veltar approached her. Thank you, Ambassador. Not just for saving us, but for showing us that the universe is more interesting than we thought. The universe sent you our address by mistake, Yuna replied with a smile. But maybe it wasn't really a mistake after all. Maybe it was exactly what everyone needed. The galaxy had asked for help, and Earth had answered. Now, humanity had a new home among the stars. And the universe had guardians who weren't afraid to fight for what was right.